If it's okay with you guys, I'm actually just going to say the same thing Michelle said in her her whole talk. So if you guys want to leave, it's cool. This is a big discussion in WordPress. I don't know if you guys know, but there's a big debate about plugins are better, themes are better, shampoo is conditioner, conditioner is better, you know. There's this huge debate, and I'm here to like kind of squash this, all right? So there are several factors that influence the performance of your WordPress site. And one of the tricks that experts are going to tell you to do is avoid plugins. They're going to tell you that it's better to place your functionality into a theme. Jesus, that's right. They're going to tell you to place it into a theme instead of a plugin. Is this true? A little bit about me, like she said, I'm a WordPress enthusiast. I'm a developer, a designer, content creator, baker, plumber. You know, let's just add some more stuff to the list. I speak at WordCamps and I help organize WordCamps. And if you're really interested in helping speak or work at a WordCamp, you can do it from your house and you don't even have to be there. Everything's on like a Google chat. You can help organize WordCamp Maui and never set foot in Maui. But you really should. Maui's cool. So there are a lot of things that influence your WordPress site, right? And some of these things include how well your theme is written, the number of images and resources that have to be loaded, how well your site is being cached, and the quality of your activated plugins. Two factors, however, that have zero impact on the performance of your site are the number of plugins that you have activated or installed, and whether or not functionality lives inside of a theme or a plugin. This really doesn't matter. You can have 200 plugins, or you can have everything into the theme. It doesn't slow WordPress down. All right? If you do a quick Google search on how to add a contact form to WordPress, you're going to see a heavy trend when it comes to tutorial titles. Most of these titles include something along the lines of without using a plugin or without a plugin, right? This trend, it exists in dozens of topics, but it brings to mind the idea that plugins must be bad or that they cause performance issues. When somebody uses something like without a plugin in their tutorial title, it leads people to the idea that themes are better than plugins. It leads them to the idea that you should place your code into a theme, whether it's your own or you paid for one. Put it into your theme. My first response to this is that this is completely unfounded and entirely incorrect. There are several factors that influence the performance of your site, and we're going to talk about these point by point. But I'm also going to touch on the belief that fewer WordPress plugins are better, because usually that's entirely incorrect as well. I'm going to go this way. Yeah. All right, common beliefs. I was going to put believes, but I don't know if you guys would have got that. I was going to put believers, but anyways. Functionality is better placed in a theme than in a plugin. The idea behind this belief is that functions and plugins are often the cause of problems on your site. And that's either because they're poorly written or they conflict with something in your theme. Well, if plugins are bad, then it's probably better to place all your functionality into the theme, right? Who agrees? If plugins are bad, put everything into the theme. Right, you guys are smart. I like where you guys' head's at. Right on. If you place into the theme, even if it's bad, if the code sucks, it's going to break the theme or it's going to break the plugin as well. It doesn't matter where it goes. What I'm here to say is that the difference between code in a plugin and code in a theme is only time of execution. Other than that, there's no goddamn difference. I'm here to tell you that right here, right now. If you look at this, let's call it a slide. It's kind of blurry. I'll give you guys the tweet deck later. Anyways, active or must-use plugins are loaded, and then activated plugins are loaded, and then pluggable.php is loaded and ran and executed before we even get to the theme. Then your child theme, and then your parent theme is loaded. The only difference between a plugin and a theme is time of execution. Whether code is loaded from point X or point Y, it's no more efficient. You know who said this? Anyone want to take a guess? I have a candy bar if you guys want to guess. I don't have a candy bar. What's up? Huh? The kid's name is Pippin Williamson. And if you guys don't know Pippin Williamson, I want you to stop living underneath that rock and go stay at a Motel 6. They're going to leave the light on for you, and they're going to give you free internet for like 30 hours. It's great. I want you to go read any site dedicated to building WordPress or to developing WordPress. And I guarantee that you're going to find something either written by Pippin or somebody's going to write something and reference a lot of what Pippin says in their whole tutorial or in their whole blog post. He's half of the team that allows plugins up on the WordPress repo. Sounds like a pretty credible source, right? So now that we know that there's no difference between like code theme and plugin code, we now have to ask the question, how is the theme the better place for functionality? Well, the answer is actually quite simple. Themes do not have a direct advantage over plugins. When you're trying to choose where should my code go, it doesn't matter where it goes. It does turn out, however, plugins have a few direct advantages over themes. So code in a theme will perform better than code in a plugin, right? This is false. And I don't know where this really comes from. I hear this at WordCamps all the time. I hear people argue themes are better. No, plugins are better. I suspect this comes from they're afraid of plugins. How many people are afraid of plugins? I think some of you guys are lying. All right, we'll find out later. I think they're afraid of plugins because they hear that there are problems with sites. Oh, don't install this plugin, it's bad. Don't do this, it's bad. Well, the idea behind this is kind of ludicrous at best, right? We already know there's no difference between code in a theme and code in a plugin. So I have an exhibit for you, and I'm going to call it Exhibit A, right? So everybody who's skeptical, let's turn this into a courtroom. She can be the judge. She looks better in the thing than I do. So I have code in a plugin, and I'm just going to echo out something called Hi Russ. And I'm just going to echo out something in my theme called Hi Russ as well, but I'm going to put it in H1 tags with a class, right? And if we were to do these on two separate functions and record how long it takes for it to show up on the front end of our site, it will look something like this. They loaded at the same time, right? They did the same exact thing, except the only thing different, one's hella bigger than the other. That's a California word, hella. All right. Anyways, it doesn't matter where it goes. It doesn't matter how many pages or how many headers or footers that your code goes into. The only difference between these two things is A, the plugin is going to get loaded and executed first. And that's about it. That's the only difference. I have an actual fact about this later. I was trying to think about something, and I actually asked Pippin Williamson a question on Twitter earlier this morning, but we're going to get to that in a minute. We have to now ask the question, are themes ultimately better than plugins for pieces of functionality? And I'm saying no, absolutely not. Well, in that case, we have to ask, come on. There we go. Are plugins better for functionality over themes? And the answer is yes, most of the time. But why? Why would I say that plugins are better than themes when placing pieces of functionality? Well, here's why, okay? If you take all your code and separate it into small chunks, it makes managing large products or projects so much easier. Right? How many people have tried to debug a website and like shit's just everywhere? How many people? Yeah. If you were to place everything into a plugin and, okay, my website has a problem now, all you have to do is deactivate plugins And then you find one of them by activating each one at a time, and you're going to find your problem. Instead of packing everything into a theme, now you have to debug your entire theme. You have to go through every source file to find a problem. Let's say you have a contact form, okay, and it's baked into your theme. And for whatever reason, the contact form goes down faster than Sienna Miller. And it takes your website with you, okay? Now your whole website's down. How do you fix the problem? You have to know how to fix the problem. If not, you're kind of effed, right? But if you place your contact form into a plugin, all you have to do is deactivate the contact form plugin until the problem gets fixed. Or you simply get rid of it and you find a new contact form plugin, right? Instead of changing themes every time your contact form doesn't work, rely on functionality in a plugin, not the theme. If you're going to change themes, how many people have changed themes in the last 3 months? You're my girl. All right. So if you're going to change themes, a lot of code is not standard. There's no WordPress standard. I can write my shortcodes any way I want to. And this guy, this guy, this guy, we all can write shortcodes any way we want to. Okay? So when things are dependent on the theme, they can break. But if you put everything into a plugin, it's now plugin reliable, and theoretically, it shouldn't break. Here's my example. I have a shortcode, and it generates this button. And to do this button, it says button, in quotations, green, and then I put my text, and then I stop the button. Can everybody see? Sweet. Well, if I change themes, this shortcode is now dead to me because it only exists in the theme. Now, I change to a new theme, and this is how my shortcode is being built. Add underscore button underscore green. Now, why it's not a big difference, or it's not a problem for you to go and copy this and replace that, go do it across 50,000 pages on time, right? Go try to change all your shortcodes across CNN. It sucks, and it's going to take a lot of time. But if everything was plugin dependent, all you have to do is change themes, and everything is relying on that plugin. Your button still works. How many people have used shortcodes, and they've changed themes, and they've seen this on their page? Their button's gone, and now all they see is this. A few people. That's what I'm exactly talking about here, is it comes down to, even though they look the same and they do the same thing, this is my code, and this is your code, and there's no standard. So when there's no standard, you should rely on a medium source instead of relying on the theme or on the, instead of relying on a medium source, you should rely on one source. I might have lost you guys. So besides that, let's talk about one other thing. That's the wrong slide. One thing that plugins have over themes is updates. Okay? How many people run updates as soon as they see them? Ooh, all right, this is going to be a good one. I'm excited. When you update a theme, let's say you find a bug in a theme, right? You fix that bug and you push an update. What happens? Who knows the answer to this? What happens when you push an update? It overrides every file inside of that theme. So if I give you a tutorial and you place all your code into the theme, and then the developer pushes out a new version of the theme, and you hit update, just like we all agreed we do, all your changes have just been lost. And now you're back to square one, and you have to go and do it again. But if you rely on everything in a plugin, all the developer has to do is go fix their small little tweak and push an update, and the rest of the site doesn't go down because you're changing one or two things in one file instead of changing one or two things in one file that lives with 50,000 other files. So plugins have a huge advantage over themes when it comes to updating, right? And just so we're all clear, please make a backup of your site before you push updates. I don't care where you back it up to, but you should always install updates on a development site in case something breaks, in case something goes wrong. Your live site is still live and well, but your development site, you just import a new copy in and try to run that update again or try to debug from there. You should never update on a live site until you've tested it somewhere. Or ask me, I'll test it. I'll do it for you. I'll be a guinea pig. I'm down. Let's do it. So now we have to ask the question whether it's bad to have a lot of different plugins on your site. Who thinks it's true? Who thinks having too many plugins is bad? Well, you're honest. I like you. I think some people in here are lying. All right. So like I said earlier, if you take all your functionality and break it up into little plugins, you can imagine the number of plugins on your site is going to skyrocket, right? But is that a bad thing? Is it bad to have 10, 20, or 30 plugins? And the answer is no. I got to hang out with Pippin Williamson at PrestigeConf in Las Vegas. And PrestigeConf is awesome. The next one is here in Minneapolis. It's like $150, but you get to like meet some of the coolest people in WordPress, and they get to tell you how they succeeded and how they failed. Pippin told us this great story about how EDD didn't take off until like a year down the road. It's really cool. I didn't know that about WordPress in general, but I didn't know this about his plugin. It's a great conference to go to. But when I met Pippin, I asked him this question: is it bad to have too many plugins on your site? How many people know Matt Mullenweg? Matt Mullenweg. Wow. He's kind of the guy that got WordPress off the ground, kind of built the whole thing. He runs his own website, but he has a guy named Otto do everything for him. Otto is his right-hand man. And Otto explained to Pippin, who explained to me, now we're getting into like a timeline story thing, that on Matt Mullenweg's site, he has 200 plugins on his site. They all do one small, tiny little function like count, and it displays a number somewhere. But all these plugins, because they do one thing specifically, and they're written well, they can run parallel with each other and not cause a conflict. It's crazy to hear, right? It's crazy to hear that you could run 200 or 300 plugins as long as they're coded well. You can run them side by side. How many people want to try installing crazy plugins now? Dude, I do it all the time. So, plugins don't cause problems because they're called plugins. How many people have heard that before? I want to extend this out to you guys as well. Web hosts are not bad because they're called GoDaddy. Web hosts are bad because somebody ill-advised their client to get the $2.99 web host. GoDaddy isn't bad because they offer a $2.99 web hosting feature. They're bad because they don't tell you what's going on. But the first answer I hear a lot of people who claim to be developers are, oh, are you on GoDaddy? That's the source of your problem. You haven't even looked at the theme. You haven't even looked to see what plugins it's on. And you haven't tried to see if they're doing some kind of crazy call to load jQuery instead of using jQuery in WordPress. You're just saying GoDaddy sucks, so that's your problem. I want this to stop. I'm really tired of people blaming things without taking any kind of research on their own to go and solve the problem, right? We're kind of built that way now with Facebook. The first thing we say is LOL, right? Why do we say that? Because now it's popular. It's the same thing with WordPress and the same thing with host. Oh, your site's bad? How many plugins do you have? That doesn't matter. It matters if you have 3 of the same e-commerce plugin. If you have Easy Digital Downloads, WooCommerce, and WP e-commerce running, yeah, then I would say a plugin is causing your problem. But it's because those 3 plugins I just named do the same thing. Even though their code is written differently, they still output the same thing, and they can conflict with each other. Other than that, plugins aren't bad because they're called plugins. Plugins are bad because the way they're written. Plugins are bad because nobody tests them. How many people have been to the .org repo and they've seen bad review of plugins? How many people have seen this? You know what I hate about that? I don't know how that person is using WordPress. Because I use WordPress and you use WordPress and we do the same stuff all day. But how I use it and how you use it are completely different. So I want to know why Pippin's EDD plugin didn't work for you. Is it because you're using WooCommerce and EDD? No, you just said this plugin sucks. I have no other further basis to go on. So before you just jump to the conclusion that, oh, that's a bad plugin because so-and-so said so, go and try it for yourself. But again, try it on a development site, not on the live site, in case something does break. So, some keys to remember. I like those keys. I like it a lot. All right. The number of plugins on your site have zero impact on the performance of your site. Code in plugins runs exactly the same as code in themes. So get rid of the idea that it's better to place functionality into your theme instead of a plugin. I personally feel like themes are supposed to control the visual aspect of your site and nothing else. Right? I want my theme to give me a header image. I want it to do my footer stuff, maybe add in a widget or two, but I don't want my theme dictating a custom post type. How many people know a custom post type? Right? When you see like a theme that says it's a portfolio theme, it's only a portfolio theme because they use a custom post type called portfolio. I hate to break it to you, but you yourself can turn any theme into a portfolio theme because you can make your own custom post type. But what happens is these portfolio themes, and I'm not picking on them because I built a couple, I've used a couple, I bought a couple. They place all their code into the theme. And then when it turns out I'm ready for a new portfolio theme, I switch them, but the custom post type was built differently because there's no standards. So I don't lose any of my posts because they're still in the database, but I don't see them because the new custom post type is not called portfolio. It's called Rust_portfolio or theme_portfolio. And in the first one, it was just called portfolio. So because there's no standards in WordPress, I don't want to put anything into the theme. I just want the theme to control the visual aspect. I like to change themes. I change themes often. I've changed themes right now in front of you guys, and you haven't even noticed. I've used white slides and blue slides and crazy backgrounds. I change stuff all the time. But I rely on plugins for my functionality. I don't rely on themes. I'm not going to create a conspiracy, but I don't trust themes. They're sneaky, they're shady. I'm not fans of them. The last point to remember is that a plugin is only evil when it's poorly built. Right? Plugins themselves are not inherently bad. They're only bad because the code that makes the plugin is bad. Right? And that doesn't mean that the developer is bad. It just means, hey, in this instant, they wrote shitty code. I've done it. I've wrote really bad code sometimes and pushed it up. And you know what happened? I hacked the admin. Anybody could just log into anybody's website without a username and password. That happened. I did that. Hi, I'm Russ. That happened to me. I'm an alcoholic. That happened, okay? And what happened is I had to release 4 different versions of an update because I thought I solved it. Turns out I didn't solve it. I had to write another patch and write another patch. But then, you know what? I finally asked somebody. I axed them. Is that how you say it? I axed them? Michelle, I think you know. Is it axed? I killed them. Anyway, so what happened is I reached out to Pip and I said, how would you do this? And I hate the guy for it because all he did was he went and it was fixed. I don't know what he pushed. I don't know how he did it. He touched that computer, that's all I know. But my problem was fixed. But I've written bad code before. It's going to happen. If you're new to writing code, or if you're new to like learning WordPress, you're going to break things. But it's okay. But don't break things on the actual .com. Go break them on somebody else's .com. Because it's not yours, it's theirs. No, that's terrible advice. Please don't do that. I use WP Engine. How many people use WP Engine? All right, a few. First of all, I'm not here to say, here's my affiliate link, go sign up. But I have that if you guys want it later. What's cool about WP Engine is I can create a live site, and then I can push one button and copy my live site directly to staging. And I go break stuff over there. Because worst case scenario, I just push copy live to staging again, and I have a new instance of my live site, and I try it again until I get it right. It's so much easier doing that than it is trying to figure out how to un-F your live site. Right? Does everybody understand that? No, I'm the only one? All right. That's cool. So does anybody have any questions? I have some more things to talk about, but I want to give people a chance to ask me questions if they feel like it. What's up? Let's do it. Shout them when you know them.
Okay. So the problem is until you actually look at the code for any kind of plugin, you really have no idea what the quality is.
Correct.
Now, this would be nice in the future if we had some kind of better, clearer idea. People who actually looked at the code and said, okay, this is a good plugin, this is well written, or some kind of standards. But otherwise, from how many millions of plugins we have to look through, we have an idea of what's good, what's not.
So that's kind of the good thing and bad thing about WordPress. So the question is how do we get some kind of system in place to where we can determine whether code is good or code is bad? Right? Is that what you're asking? And the thing is we have people like Pippin, and she's not in here. She lied to me. Her name's Mika, right? And she's phenomenal. And they are the two gatekeepers to .org. If you want your plugin to go up to .org, it's got to get through them. Okay? So they do go through that. And I trust Pippin, even though I've seen him literally break my own website. I trust him wholeheartedly. But after it passes that inaugural test, they really don't look at it again. So then comes the problem where I can mess something up and nobody's watching it. But that's why it's up to you to go and look at the code. Even if you don't understand what's going on, just look at it on a whole different site. Right? Look on a whole different thing. Because if it breaks, just go find a new plugin. But that's the other thing I hate about WordPress. They don't tell you what happened, how it broke. Oh man, like it made all my H1 tags like in a 800 pixel font or whatever. They just say, hey, shit broke. I used a different plugin. I hate that. It sucks. Any other questions?
So let's say that you've got early loaded functions.php file, and so you want to create your own plugins. Do you just do one functionality plugin, like I come to that talk, or do you sort of first of all go through and figure out what's theme-oriented, what's functionality-oriented, and then start modularizing what's functionality-based? Or so like, would you have 200 of your own little functionality plugins, or would you have one, or what's your plan?
So I have many thoughts on this, but I'd like to hear yours first. How would you go about it? So the question is you have your functions.php file. I'm assuming this is a theme you wrote, or like a child theme, right? So you have all these functions, and how do you divide them up? Do you just literally copy functions.php and put it in your own plugin like theme or plugin file and hope it works? Or do you start separating them out? So what I would do, and this is the only thing where I would use the theme over a plugin, and I will deny this. Turn the camera off. No, I'm kidding. I will deny this. Is if I'm doing something specific for the theme, then I'm going to place it in the functions.php or in the child functions.php, right? Because people still don't use child themes. It's a weird thing to hear. I've been using them since 2011, but they're still using parent themes instead of child themes. But I would start breaking them up. If you're loading resources, then yeah, I'd put them in plugins, right? I'd let the plugin do all the heavy lifting. But if it's something that literally says, like if it has a class or an ID, it's probably specific to that theme, right? That doesn't mean, though, that you can't take your own style sheet and then queue it and then put your class over there. But it depends on how you want to break it up. Personally, though, I put everything into a plugin. On my own personal site, we can dive into it in a minute, I have over 60 plugins running. I sell one plugin, but I use 60 plugins to help me promote my one plugin. It's a weird thing to hear. It's a weird thing to say. I really thought I'd be the guy that had like 4 plugins. And like I knew the world. I had it solved. But I have 50 plugins. Matt Mullenweg, like I said, 200 plugins. They just do one little thing. Pippin Williamson, his plugin, his sites, they're called Pippin's plugins. I gave him that idea, by the way. Copyright infringement. He has over 200 plugins running as well. But that's because he met with Otto, talked with Otto, and said, hey, man, here's how we run Matt's site. And if it's good enough to run the dude who created WordPress, if it's good enough to run his site, my site can do that too. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I was just curious about your process and how you fix that.
You want to know my process? You can dive in. It's weird. There's weird stuff in here. I'm not going to lie. I break things down. Everything goes into a plugin. And then if somebody says, hey, we got rid of all of our plugins, all right, then maybe I'll think about putting it into a theme. Because some people are really theme happy, and they'll just change themes without even telling you. How many people build sites for a living, client websites? How many people get a call at 2 a.m.? My site's broke. What happened? And you're like, oh, man, you changed your theme. Yeah, what happened? And you're like, you changed your theme. I can't say any different, right? If you put all their, I would put all their functionality into a plugin. Or if they're like, man, I use plugins every day. I installed all the .org. I don't know what happened. I pushed a button and everything on .org came up. Then maybe you put it into a theme. But you have to know your client well enough before you can make that call. So I would start putting everything into a plugin and then take it day by day. Questions?
Sure. This is a purely hypothetical situation that I'm not in the middle of arguing over.
I'm only interested in hypothetical questions.
I'm a firm believer in functionality and plugins, visibility and themes. And there are functions that are only visibility, like if you want to control how many things in an excerpt is showing or something. Like, sure, throw that in something.
Can you just email me the rest of this question?
No. So, you know, that kind of stuff. But say you're building a custom theme for someone that's doing a specific task and displaying specific information. Possibly a website where people can list, you know, modifications they do to their cars.
I'm in.
You've done all the
Shut up, take my credit card.
right? You've done all the functionality and plugins, but all the visibility is in the theme, like how it displays custom fields, how it displays custom photo types, how big the photos are, everything. Hypothetically, what if the argument came back at you that your custom car visibility aspects should be in templates that are in a theme, much like an events calendar is or an e-commerce thing, where the plugin itself comes with visual templates that are plug and play in any theme. Like, how do you feel about that versus the task of creating the custom theme for that?
And put everything into functions.
If they switch themes, all the functionality is still there. You don't have to write in new calls to display it, versus writing templates into your plugin that displays stuff.
So I'm a huge fan on the hierarchy. I would much rather rely on archives hyphen custom post type instead of building pages out unless I specifically have to, right? But in your case, hypothetically, this may or may not be going on, but, you know, lawsuit over here, ladies and gentlemen. I would write it into my contract of how we're going to build it, right? I would write it down with them and say, hey, here's how WordPress works. It does this cool thing called themes, and it uses these cool things called plugins. Do you care how I write it? And if they say no, you do it any way you want. But if they come back and say, oh, well, plugins suck, I want it all in the theme, you answered your own question. Put everything into a theme. And then when they change themes, be like, listen, contract says you told me theme. That's what I would do. But honestly, if it was my own site, I would put everything into a plugin, and then I would build my own template, my own child theme to display it, because chances are I'm not going to change themes all the time on that specific project. My own personal blog, russellaaron.vegas, there's a drop, right? I change themes on that all the time. But my Gravity Styles plugin, another drop. I'm just dropping science. I don't change themes on that very much. If I want to change headers, I'll go and rewrite a new header.php file. I won't change themes. I'll just replace one file with another until I get it right, and it's an active kind of thing. But to answer your question, I would put everything into the theme for that specific client, just because they haven't made up your mind, and you're pulling your hair out, and your hair is gorgeous, by the way. So I would just say, dude, honestly, everything's in the theme. Don't touch your themes. To answer your question? Questions? Sweet. Okay. How much time we have? I said that really poorly. I'm sorry. How much time do we have left remaining in this topic? 6? Okay, let's dive into it. You guys like how I'm not paying for PowerPoint? Oh, hold on. You guys can't see that, can you? You guys seem no. I'm on dial-up right now. It's going to take a minute. Yeah, AOL kind of sucks right now. 2, okay. Hey, all right. Sweet. You guys want to see what's in my Gmail? All right. The password's Felicity Huffman, if you guys are interested. So this is my personal site. Again, password Felicity Huffman. You guys can hack it later. Feel free to. So this is my life site. Okay, this is my .vegas. It's a top-level domain. I just got it like 6 months ago. But when we look at plugins, if it's going to load, yeah, I'm excited. So I'm only running 16 plugins on this. All right. I'm using a Kismet, that's fine, but I'm using Gravity Forms. A, because Gravity Forms does everything I've ever wanted it to do, but I want to put all my functionality of forms into one plugin, and I trust them. But so I have this other thing right here that's called Gravity Forms CSS Ready Class. And this is really cool because with Gravity Forms, you can take fields and align them side by side. You can do things like half columns, right? But Gravity Forms doesn't have this baked in. So Gravity Forms had somebody else write this plugin, and now anytime I go to my form, this is really cool. Come into here. Let's go to Edit. Can you guys hear me? Double bacon cheeseburger. All right. So you guys can come right here and go into Classes. And when I hit this, now it gives me all the available ready classes. And you can see I can put something in a right half or in a left half. This is a good example of placing this functionality into a plugin. Even though Gravity Forms already has this. This is already baked into Gravity Forms, but it doesn't give you the option. I just did a whole 360. It doesn't give you the option of this little thing right here to give you that light box to come up. But instead of building this into Gravity Forms or building this into a theme, they just dropped it into a plugin. So no matter what theme I use, I always have the option on my Gravity Form to come in here and add this class. And this is one of the best examples that I can come up with on relying on a plugin to do the functionality. So it's there. If you didn't have this plugin, but you still, so what it does is it drops the thing like this. So it drops the thing right here that says GF_left_half. That's already baked into the core of Gravity Forms. But unless you go read Gravity Help and find out how to use that, they don't know it exists. Nobody knows it exists. I found out through this plugin that it's already in. They're just helping me call a class before I have to go and spend 5 hours trying to learn how to do this, right? But this is a really good example of how to use a plugin just for functionality and not rely on a theme. 3 minutes? 2 minutes? 2 minutes. Any other questions?
Where do you store all the CSS in the plugin itself? Do you transfer it to other sites as well?
What are you?
Because you have a class selector in that plugin.
Uh-huh.
Can you, so you're able to transfer your CSS in that plugin, or do it has to be live on the theme?
No, it's in the plugin here, so I'll show you. I don't have the code up. Anyways, so let's come into here. This is actually my plugin that I have here. And let's just load another one. So I have some examples. And so here's what my plugin does, is all you have to do is add a class name to Gravity Forms, and you can style your form just like this. It's already pre-built in. It's already done. And what my plugin does is I have a style sheet in my plugin folder. And I say, when my plugin is activated by clicking the Activate button, I want you to take this, let's say, style page, style sheet, and load it into the header. So yeah, I can take any style sheet I want and put it on any site I want because it's in the theme. Or I'm sorry, it's in the plugin. It's not relying on the theme. So if I were to change themes right now, this form would not break because the style sheet's enqueued by the plugin, not by the theme. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
No? Let's talk later.
So I said yes.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, guys.